And one of the difficulties with companies, obviously being the main business engine of the country and employing people, providing value for investors through pension funds or individual shareholders, is that there's been a divide between the company itself and the directors who operate the company on a day-to-day basis and the shareholders. And on the stock market, people invest in shares very often on a short-term basis just to simply get the financial return. So therefore you have the odd concept, the conflicting concept, that the shareholders own the company but have no say in the day-to-day operations, and the directors basically don't own the company and they run the show. And of course that all broke down originally when limited liability was introduced, so shareholders have no responsibility, no risk of liability if something goes wrong in the company. So our idea is to try and join together, get more involvement of the shareholders, and therefore more of a relational concept. And we've introduced this with a number of ideas. One is that there will be regular meetings, not just annual meetings of shareholders with the directors, but quarterly meetings. And shareholders not only meet the directors at the company's offices, but also meet the employees and have an opportunity as well to meet people from the local community and the suppliers and customers of the company. So the shareholders have a greater understanding of what's going on and therefore take a greater responsibility for what's going on. Because if they sit down with the directors and look them in the eye, it's less likely the directors are going to mislead them or make decisions which aren't in the interests of the company as a whole and all the other stakeholders. Now, one of the ways we want to introduce this is by what we call the Relational Business Charter, which is a series of 10 principles that companies can elect to adopt. And part of it is to introduce relational thinking into the company. It also involves training for shareholders, directors and employees in relational thinking, but also trying to reduce levels of debt, because high levels of debt means unsustainability and risk for the company and therefore for the shareholders and the employees, and try and have some sort of limit on the pay of executives as well, to recognise the worth of lower paid people in the company vis-a-vis compared with the higher paid people in the company. And the companies which want to adopt this would be sent a questionnaire. They would mark themselves out of 10, as it were, as to how they rate on the charter. This would be managed by a relational rating agency. They would then look at the result and then they'd score them out of 10. So you might be a 1 to 10 compliant company or a 10 out of 10 compliant company. And the idea would be that that is respected in the community, in the business community, as a proper model for a company to operate under, and it would attract investors. Shareholders might say, well, I want to invest in a company like that, and they have the choice to do so. And it would also be attractive to current employees in the company and people thinking of working for that company, and indeed suppliers as well. They'd say, well, I would like to work with and supply goods to a relationally operating company. And then as part of that, we'd introduce what we call a relational business forum, which is a centre of excellence, an independent body which the companies that are rated relationally would join, and individuals could come there for training. That would be shareholders, directors, employees, and they would have an association, so they'd share and develop relational thinking. Well, we're fairly well advanced in the sense that we want to have a trial, a pilot with some companies, and we've fairly well developed the charter, the 10 principles. I think when we look at it in practice, we may find we can refine it and we can get a better understanding of how business operates. But we're talking to a lot of people about this, and we're finding there's a good deal of interest in this country and overseas as well.